Alrighty, so all these games from the round of 32 is in the books. Well, actually, almost in the books because we still have the game between Club America versus Atlas that is winding down. But I'm not going to be reviewing that game because, as I mentioned, I'm only going to be reviewing Leeds Cup game that involving MLS team in the knockout round from now on. And I gotta say, remember how I made that video where I filling out the bracket and make my prediction in terms of how the rest of this knockout round is going to go. Well, not only the fact that the bracket basically is busted now, but the teams that I predicted that made it to the final, they didn't even get out of the round of 32. So yeah, and I'm gonna say this again when I do the next video where I'll review this busy Friday night action. That I want to apologize to the Orlando City and the Portland Timbers fans that I basically jinxed them because yeah, I predicted Portland versus Orlando to make it, and both of them didn't even make it out of the round of 32. But with that being said, today I'm actually going to, well, first review in terms of the free games that happened yesterday involving MLS team in the Leeds Cup, and then I'll do the video looking at all the other nine out of 10 games that happened in terms of busy Friday night action in terms of round of 32 in the Leeds Cup. And there was definitely some surprises in terms of yesterday resort, and that kind of is the case in terms of this round 32. There's definitely some teams that I did not expect to move on into the next round did, and we'll start off with the first game, which is Inter Miami versus Toronto. So this game was not a big surprise. The fact that we knew that Inter Miami they were heavy favorites to move on into the next round, but man, they definitely did not make it easy for themselves in this one against Toronto, and in many ways it looked like early on this was going to be a blowout, and then they just kind of keep shooting themselves in the foot and keep TFC back into this game. Now, early on, Suarez would hit one right to Johnson after just a bad turnover from Toronto, and I thought TFC got away with one because that is one that Luis Suarez does not miss very often, and they cannot do their usual giving the ball away in their own half like they've done throughout the season. Well, they didn't get that memo because just 3 minutes later, or just 1 minute after I wrote that, Rojas would score from Alba to give Miami a 1-0 lead. It came off a bad turnover from TFC, and then Gomez would put it wide from close range. It was all Miami early in this one, and this is when I thought TFC clearly not only has not showed up in this game, but look like this is going to be a laughter because in the 11th minute, Diego Gomez of what could be his last game for Inter Miami, as it seems like his move to Brighton is pretty much imminent. But he scored here from Jordi Alba to give Inter Miami a 2-0 lead. And again, this could get ugly for TFC. Like this could look like it's gonna be a laughter with the way that Miami just pretty much blown apart, or TFC is getting blown apart by pretty much just Matador defending that they were shown in this game. But that being said, in the 12th minute, as soon as I wrote that, a penalty was given to TFC as Wenger inexplicably kind of gave the ball away, and he brought down Etienne Jr. after he gave the ball away in his own box, which allowed Insigne to give a lifeline for TFC, and he did exactly that. So he slots it home in the PK spot to pull within one again for or get one back in this one to make it 2-1. But unfortunately, Inter Miami wastes no time to restore their 2-goal lead as Luis Suarez would score from Jordi Alba to make it 3-1 in favor of Inter Miami. Yeah, if you're gonna give Suarez another chance, he's not gonna miss one. He already missed a big one earlier. He's not going to miss a second opportunity. And how about Jordi Alba too? Up to this point, he's now got a hat trick of assists, and he was not done in terms of getting assists in this game as well. Though that being said, Johnson would deny Redondo from close, and again, it just feels like this is a laughter. Like this looked like it was going to be an easy win for Inter Miami. And then again, they shot themselves in the foot again because Martinez would get a straight red here. He of course originally got a yellow, and originally it was a penalty as TFC was going the other way. But they changed the call where it was actually a free kick because this happened outside the box. But also it was pretty clear that it was denial of goals score opportunity. So the good news for Inter Miami, at least it's not a penalty. It's just a free kick. The bad news is now they're down to 10 men for the rest of the game. And if there's one thing we have seen throughout this tournament, when you're down to 10 men, it's almost kind of like a death sentence because it feels like whenever we see teams go down 10 men in this tournament, they just pretty much fold it after that. But that being said, Calendar would deny Insigne on that ensuing free kick. There was another penalty then was awarded to TFC just 9 minutes later after Jordi Alba, who was pretty much the assist maker in this one, but he commits a mistake here, bringing down Owusu in the box. So that allowed Insigne another chance to score from the spot and give another lifeline, and even a bigger lifeline for TFC, knowing that they're up a man for the rest of the game. And he does exactly that. So a game that basically early on looked like it was going to be a laughter, and now all of a sudden it gets very interesting. And I also would say that defending seems like it was optional in this game. Like defending clearly did not show up whatsoever in this game by both of these team. And in some way, I'm kind of not surprised because we talk about TFC having their issue defensively lately. Inter Miami, I know it has gone a little bit better recently, but they're still at times has these optional kind of defending, and this is even if when they decide to bring in some reinforcement. In fact, one of the reinforcement, Martinez, got himself sent off in this one. So yeah, it was free too in this game, and again because of just defending being optional, it's not surprised we saw a 5 goal thriller as we head to halftime. Now in the second half, there was another shout for a penalty for TFC not given, and as expected, TFC had most of the possession. And really, a shorthand Miami side was starting to become pragmatic, which is something you don't usually see with this Inter Miami team. Tata Martino doesn't usually like to go pragmatic, but it's kind of almost like he's forced into his hand, knowing the fact that they're down to 10 men and they were looking for those counter moment. Gomez would puts it high in the back post before a counter tip Insigne shot over. But then in the 59th minute, Miguel Rojas would score again. He scored from Jordi Alba, who, yeah, that's now 4 assists that Jordi Alba has had. And I know no, it was a great goal from Miguel Rojas, but you got to appreciate the fact that Jordi Alba, how many times where I talk about in a game where it feels like the player that gets the assist always doesn't get enough credit and kind of being forgotten on the score or on the stat chart later in the game. But what a game this was for Jordi Alba, getting 4 assists in this one. But still, the attention is going to be with Miguel Rojas. What an absolute banger and a half, and really just almost a dagger for TFC because they looked like they were having the momentum, trying to tie the game up. Now they found themselves down goals again, and this goal actually would turns out to be very big in terms of the outcome of the game for Inter Miami. Franklin did look to respond, but he missed high there before Etienne hits one right to counter. Johnson then denied Redondo on a lightning counter in the 75th minute, and this is where TFC's got to be careful because I know Inter Miami at times this season they're not known to be a lightning counter attack kind of team, but they can definitely do so, especially with the way that TFC was pushing so many men forward to try to get one back. But that being said, they do get one back in the 79th minute. Now, this was given an own goal for Noah Allen, and I had to check again today whether or not if this actually changed, and it didn't. It still says it's an own goal for Noah Allen, even though I feel like this should have been given to Owusu because, when Owusu hits this one, it looked like it was on target and it deflected off of Allen there. And when the shot is on target and it deflects off a defender, it doesn't matter how it deflected, it should count as a goal for the player that strikes it. But it doesn't. Obviously, I don't think TFC would really care because they're back into this game once again. And if you're an Inter Miami fan, oh boy, it's time to really they sweat bullets again. Counter would then deny long from close before Redondo struck the post from point blank effort, and that should have been the moment for Inter Miami to put away the fifth goal because yeah, they were just being way too cute there, almost like they were trying to walk it in, and Redondo had pretty much a goal mouth to aim at, and somehow he hits the post. And I also thought that will that chance come back to haunt Miami, and as we'll talk about in the next video and in this busy Friday night Leagues Cup action, not putting the game away could sometimes turn to be a costly matter and cost your chance to move on into the next round. Thankfully for Inter Miami, they did it didn't come back to haunt them, as in the end it was a 4-3 win that they had against Toronto. The shots in this one, 13 shots for the 10 that TFC had, 7 shots on goal for the 6 that TFC had, 2 shots off target for the 3 that Miami has. Both team had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession wise 56% possession compared to 44% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And while I know Inter Miami fans will say that, yes, it wasn't pretty, but hey, in a knockout round, it doesn't matter how pretty it has to be. You just need to move on into the next round. And that, of course, is the case. I've said it before. It doesn't matter how you win. If you win at the end of the day to move on to the next round, that's all everybody cares. But I will say that there is definitely going to be some concern if you're Inter Miami, and especially with the way that they just shot themselves in the foot so many times in this game. They should have put this game away way earlier and didn't have to really sweat it out in the end. And now they got to clean that act together because now they face against the Columbus Crew in the next round. And I guarantee you, if Inter Miami put this kind of display against the Columbus Crew, yeah, they're not going to be so lucky walking away with all 3 points. But then again, I say that, and somehow Inter Miami's still able to squeeze by moving into the next round. But for TFC, I mean, really no shame for TFC. I know they'll be disappointed that they weren't able to come back, but they fought hard in this game and was really putting the defending Leagues Cup champ on a brink that we almost had one of the bigger upset in this tournament with TFC almost doing something similar to what they did against Pachuca, which is knocking or handing a heavy favorites and a team that won the competition last year a round of 32 exit. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Seattle versus the LA Galaxy. So this is the first game where my bracket basically went to bust and where I make my prediction wrong. And don't worry, there's going to be a lot more of that as we look at the busy action from today's Leeds Cup round of 32 action. But yeah, this was a game where, if you're the LA Galaxy, this game has to serve a lot of concern, and alarm bell has to be ring for the Galaxy. Because one thing that I've mentioned about the Galaxy, as good as they have been this season, my biggest concern of this team is obviously the defense and also them defending set pieces because throughout the season they have given up way too many set pieces go, and also not to mention at times being almost invincible in the defensive area. And the only reason why they've been so good this season, at least being near the top of the standings, is that the attack has really masked that issue. But I think this game is just kind of a reminder that when the attack doesn't click, and their biggest flaws with exploiting this one, yeah, that's what we got in this game between the Galaxy and the Seattle Sounders. And as I mentioned, it didn't take long for the Sounders to get the opening goal. Just 3 minutes into this game, Yamar would score from Rusnak to give Seattle a 1-0 lead. Again, it came off of a set piece opportunity where Yamar was left unmarked there. And then just a couple of minutes later, well, if you're so bad at defending set pieces, why not give up another goal? Because here it's Jackson Reagan, the one that gets the goal here. It came off of the corner again. I think originally Morris had a chance to head this one in. He also was left wide open in the box. So yeah, I don't know how in the world do you let one of the most dangerous goal scorers for the Sounders wide open in the box like that. McCarthy actually made a big save out of that, but it just kind of fell right to Reagan. And that, yeah, again, these set pieces problem the Galaxy has had this season, it's on full display, at least in the first 7 minutes. 2-0 down in this game. Peck did look to answer, but he missed wide there. I thought the Galaxy had dominated the possession, but really I thought that was by design for the Sounders, because now knowing that they're 2-0 up, they don't really need to go on the attack, and knowing the fact that the Galaxy is a team that is very dangerous on the transition, and this is something I'm surprised not a lot of team has done. The Galaxy are dangerous in terms of transition. So why not just let them have the ball and basically try to break you down? Yes, I know there's going to be people saying that, well, you still have the quality of Ricky Puig, but if you're able to shut him down and just kind of try to keep this Galaxy team quiet, or maybe even put in a mid or low block as the Sounders were starting to do, there could be a chance where we see this season where the Galaxy struggle to create those chances and aren't able to get those transitional moments where that's where they're at their best on the attack. Peck then missed an absolute sitter in the front post in the 20th minute before McCarthy would deny Alex Rodon, but the Sounders get a couple of second chances, could not bear it, but up to that point it was 7-2 in terms of the shots in favor of the Sounders, despite not having a lot of possession. Nuhu then puts it high after the Galaxy turned the ball over in their own half, and then in the 7 minute of stoppage time, the Sounders would make it 3-0, and it's the Rodon's combo. Alex Rodon scoring from Christian Rodon here to make it 3-0 in favor of the Sounders. Again, the Rodon's combo. We haven't seen it a lot this season. In fact, we haven't seen it in a while that the two Rodon brother combine on the goals and assists. But yeah, it's definitely back in this play. But really, the Galaxy victim to their own downfall, because that play all started because they turned the ball over in a bad spot. Again, just the problem this season has been obviously with the defense for the Galaxy, and again, this game just in full display of why there has to be a lot of concern if you're a Galaxy fan as this team may going to the playoffs, and that why I think there maybe there's a lot of people. I mean, I know a lot of people are picking the Galaxy to go deep, but my biggest concern with this team is that we've seen so far when you need to make a deep playoff run, you have to have a solid defense, and this team just doesn't have that, and that's where it could be a problem as they get into the playoffs, and it feels almost similar to what we've seen before, where I remember a couple of years when the Galaxy was very good in the league, but they weren't able to go deep because of the way that their defense kind of fell apart, and not to mention meeting LAFC in the playoff round. They definitely do not want to meet LAFC and have another El Trafico in the playoffs. But that being said, we do head to halftime with the Sounders leading 3-0 in the second half. Roth Rugwood hits one right to McCarthy before Yoshida thought that he got one back for the Galaxy, but the goal was disallowed for offside. The Galaxy continue to dominate the possession, but they just can't break the Sounders mid block here. In fact, the shots were now 14-3 in favor of the Sounders. That just shows you how good the Sounders defense is. They were pretty much shutting down that lethal Galaxy attack and basically just kind of forced them to trying to break them down and couldn't able to do so. Morris then heads it wide from close before McCarthy denied Rusnak from close. Yamar then puts it wide from the corner in the 72nd minute. Again, the Galaxy continue to have problem in terms of defending set pieces. Though in the 83rd minute, the Galaxy does get one back as Gabriel Peck, who he missed a couple of big chances in this one, he finally buries one here, and then he decided to celebrate by booting the ball into the stands. Why? Why would you decide to punt the ball into the stands when I mean I understand that you're still down by two, but you should not be punting the ball into the stands. You should just grab the ball, put it in the center circle, and get things going because you punting the ball into the stands means that now there's going to be more time that is wasted. And the Sounders will be happily obliged to wait until the ball put into center circle because they're in no rush to trying to restart play, knowing that they're still up by 2 goals. Lepley then missed just high from long range in the 89th minute, but in the end, the Sounders they move on into the next round. They are going to be facing against Pumas in the round of 16. Sounds like a very familiar match from a couple of years ago, especially in the CONCACAF Champions League, that is. But the shots in this one 21 shots for the 8 that the Galaxy had, 1 shots on goal for the 11 that the Sounders had, 3 shots off target for the 4 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 6 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, the Galaxy had more of the possession, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the Sounders, they were just so shut down on the defense, and now I think maybe the blueprint is finally out on the Galaxy, and that again, I'm kind of surprised that not many teams are trying to do this against the Galaxy, where you just let them have all the possession and trying to be organized. Now, obviously, not every team can be super organized, as we would see the Sounders defense have in this game. But as long as you're able to stop Pooch and basically don't leave space at the back, you can definitely solve this Galaxy team because really the Galaxy this season they've been the most dangerous when they're on the transition. Most of the goals that they've scored have been on the transition. So if you can stop that transition for the Galaxy, you can definitely have a good chance to stop this lethal Galaxy attack. But now that being said, moving on into whatever happened in this game. I mean, wow. I'm absolutely lost for words in terms of what I just saw in this game between the Quakes and the Coxsub. And for me, it's easy for me to just say that this is probably the one of the greatest night that I have ever felt as a Quakes fan. And I definitely feel like that is the case, but I was just kind of completely stunned of what I saw the Quakes did in this game. And mind you, this is a Necaxa team that they, even though I know they play against a relatively weak Sounders team that was putting their B team, they still won against the Sounders. And not to mention, in the game against Minnesota, if it wasn't for Dane Sinclair basically doing his Tim Howard impression, they probably would have won that game by multiple goals. So here you have the San Jose Earthquakes, a team that's dead last in MLS and probably going to win the Wooden Spoon this year and only have 4 wins to their names. And it's only fitting the fact that in the craziest way possible, they would score 5 goals against Necaxa in this game, and they would be 4-0 up after 35 minutes in this one. Now, in the first half, I just want to say that, as I mentioned before, this game was already going to be a late kickoff. So why not make sure this game gets even later by having some Fox Sports level kickoff shenanigans where this game didn't start until 8:20 p.m. For no reason whatsoever. Normally, a lot of these Leagues Cup games usually kick off 10 minutes in terms of the scheduled kickoff. I tuned in at 8:10 thinking that the game was going to kick off, and they were still walking out as that has happened. So yeah, obviously I was not happy whatsoever because again I need to go to sleep because I have to go to work at 6:30 in the morning the very next day. So the fact that this game isn't going to start until 8:20, and not to mention my fear that this game is going to go to a PK shootout because it feels like it's almost like a given that some of these late games has to go to a PK shootout in the Leeds Cup. Yeah, I just had a feeling this game is not going to end until like 10:30 after. Thankfully, it didn't do so, though we did have a long period of stoppage time in the first half, and there was a good reason why that is the case. In the first minute, the first shot of the game did see Pellegrino puts it wide from long range, and then you basically took a swing and a miss on a scissor kick, which that kind of sounds very Jackson you of him trying to go for a spectacular but fail miserably. But I also thought it was a promising start for the Quakes, which is something I haven't said a lot this season. They were on the front foot and were looking for the opener. And in the fourth minute, basically Jackson you make me eat my words because remember how I said that he took a swing and a miss, and it feels like that's pretty much sums up his season. Well, this definitely didn't sum up his season. He scored from a long range effort there from Espinoza to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. And, as much as I'm happy that the Quakes have scored, I also fear the fact that I've seen this story before where the Quakes get an early lead. I feel like early the narrative of the Quakes is always when they score an early goal, they're going to lose because that's kind of how it was early this season. And I thought, well, yeah, it's great that the Quakes, of course, score the lead, but surely they can't beat Necaxa in this game. Surely they're gonna blow it again, right? Do they? In the 14th minute, Pellegrino did look for a second, but he missed wide on a lightning counterattack. And then in the 60th minute, Hernan Lopez he scored from Pellegrino to make it 2-0 in favor of the Quakes. And this is when I just feel like, what in the world am I watching? Because this is not the San Jose Earthquakes that I know. This is not the team that is currently sitting dead last in the standing. This team looked like the Columbus Crew in this game against Necaxa, and that I just feel like surely say when is when is the wheel gonna drop, and when it is the string is going to come loose in terms of the fact that yeah eventually this Quakes team is going to go back to their old ways, right? Well, Paradella did put one high from close range. The shots were already 7-3 for the Quakes up to this point. Usaini then Orisani then denied Ibobasi on the free kick, but then just a couple of minutes later, Ibobasi would score. He scored from Pellegrino to make it 3-0 in favor of the Quakes. Again, what in the world am I watching? Why am I seeing the Quakes all of a sudden becoming look like the best team in the league in this game against a team that beat Seattle and put Minnesota to its brink against the Coxum? And then just a couple of minutes later, guess what? Obovisi score again. I swear, ever since Jeremy Obovisi scored that goal against Chivas, it feels like not only the show weight of the world has come off of him, but now he's started to look like he's back to his old self. And this might be good news for the Quakes, at least for the rest of this Leeds Cup tournament. If they somehow, in some way, will just shock everybody and make it to the final. But he scored here from Lopez to make it 4-0 in favor of the Quakes. And what a back heel that was from Hernan Lopez. Like that was some Man City level kind of attack from the Quakes. I would have never thought I would say the word Man City esque and say it in the San Jose Quakes name at all this season with the way how bad they've been. But yeah, I mean, 35 minutes in, and keep in mind when these goals comes in, especially when we got to the third and fourth goal, I didn't even celebrate. I was just in stun of what I was seeing, and I'm pretty sure everybody that was watching this was in stun because again, this. If you would have told me, like, if you wouldn't have watched the Quakes play at all this season, and if you haven't seeing where the Quakes are in the standing, you wouldn't have guessed it that this team is currently dead last in MLS. You would say that this team is among the contender in terms of the Leeds Cup and maybe even a contender in MLS Cup this season. In the 38th minute, Yarbrough would then deny Palavencio, but he did give up a bad rebound, and Campito was able looked like he was able to tapped it in, but he hits it high on the rebound. I mean, that moment just kind of sums up Necaxa up to that point. Even when the chances are presented to them, nothing seemed to work out. And in the 42nd minute, this is when we really start to see tempers flare. And I had a feeling this was going to happen because anytime when you see a Mexican team just getting absolutely blown out, especially what we saw in the first half, you knew the tempers were going to flare, and it really did in this one. And it also didn't help the fact that tempers are going to always flare when you decided to deck the goalkeeper, and that's exactly what happened. Yarbrough was pretty much completely decked by Arce, and yeah, there was a lot of crowd that was drawing that one. They did have to go to VAR to check to see the incident. Originally, there was supposed to be a red card on Rodriguez and also Montez, but in the end, they said that the Montez red card is withheld, and Rodriguez, who was originally given a red card in this one, he was downgraded to yellow. So out of all that craziness, we only saw one red card that happened in that one, and the Coxa were down to 10 men. And also, we had like 10 minutes of stoppage time as a result of that. So yeah, again, I was happy that the Quakes, of course, were winning, but I was like, oh great, 10 minutes of stoppage time. This is gonna be even a later night for me, isn't it? Good news is because this is such a blowout game. I also didn't think about if this is continued to be a blowout game, then I think there's probably not going to be any stoppage time in the second half, right? Well, heading into the second half, and again, even though I know the Quakes are up 4-0, as I said, this feels like a clock tease. That doesn't feel real. I feel like eventually the shoe is gonna drop, and that the Quakes are probably gonna go back to their old ways. Not that they're gonna maybe blow a 4-0 lead, although that would be very on point on the Quakes this season if they are able to do so. But I feel like this should be close in the second half. Is it? Well, no, it didn't. Despite the fact that I didn't really took too much notes because I knew that this game was kind overall, I still kept a good eye on this one because up to this point, by the time when this game is over, this game was still just beginning in the second half, so I was pretty much watching almost the entire second half of this game being the lone game. Lopez with curls it wide from close range. It's a line change. Then we saw in the 60th minute as the Quakes pretty much pull their starter and bring their reserve. Why not? Because you were up for being up to this point when they made the line change around the 65th minute, no need to basically put in the reserve, especially with the way that Necaxa, I think their tactics now is trying to get one of these Quakes players sent off. In the 71st minute, we saw a crazy sequence where Usani was able to deny Chikaris twice, and then Preston Judge had a chance to bury it to make it 5-0. He was denied by Usani, but then it came right back to him, and he had an empty net to shoot, but he missed that one wide. So yeah, despite the fact it feels like everything has gone right for the Quakes in this game, you can't say the same for Preston Judge. He continued to be snake bitten this season. Things again started to be physical again. Again, Necaxa was really getting into the Quakes' skin, and this is where I'm just hoping that the Quakes can keep their cool because there's just no need for them to lash out, especially with the way that they're on point of shockingly moving on into the next round in a blowout kind of like this. And then just for good measure in the 88th minute, Paul Marie would gets on the score sheet here, and this was actually not a banger from Paul Marie. It feels like every time when I mention Paul Marie scores for the Quakes, it's a banger, but no, this was just a normal goal here, and it was kind of a gift too because it came off of a bad turnover from Necaxa, and that just kind of sums up the night for Necaxa. I mean, just unbelievable. I feel like I've just stepped into an alternative universe where the Quakes are actually a decent team and are actually not owned by John Fisher because they won 5-0 in this game against Necaxa. They move on into the next round to face against LAFC. The shots in this one, 19 shots for the 13 that Necaxa had, 4 shots on goal for the 9 that the Quakes had, 4 shots off target for the 2 that Necaxa had, 7 shots that was blocked for the 5 that the Quakes had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Necaxa has in the next round. And even though I know that in the next game against LAFC, I don't give them a lot of chance that they can win that unless if they can pull off something like this against LAFC. I'm just gonna say what I've always said whenever the Quakes have a magical moment, and that of course is I'm gonna relish it because this season it's been nothing but pain as a Quakes fan, and I've mentioned it many times before where it got to a point where I'm almost stopped caring about the team, but again, deep in my heart, I still do love this team, and that, especially in this Leeds Cup, especially what I've said before, where this is why as much as I know there's a lot of controversies around the Leeds Cup when it comes to the attendance, and also with the US Open Cup kind of competition at stake. It's a great opportunity for a lot of these teams that are not doing very well in the league, and a chance for redemption and a chance to salvage their season. And I gotta say, the Quakes, they're not only doing a good job in terms of doing so, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe they might go deep in this competition, and maybe they'll shock everybody. Similar to, I think, what Minnesota did last year. I know Minnesota last year, they were kind of a team that, even though I know they were a little bit better situation where the Quakes are right now, they were a team that I remember last year that was also not thinking that they were gonna do too much in the competition. And next thing you know, they went all the way to the quarter final before just getting absolutely smacked by Nashville because reality basically set in. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this ride for the Quakes. It might go up, turn out to be an ugly resort in the next game too, but at least as a Quakes fan, I'm in a season where there's pretty much nothing but darkness for most part. On a rare night, I can enjoy that game where this is by far the best performance I've seen, not only by the Quakes this season, but pretty much in years. For this team against a very very good opponent that is Necaxa. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of my review of this game. And as always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the review for last night's action. Again, I'm going to be doing the review in terms of all these busy 9 game action. Well, actually, it's 10 games, but I'm only going to be reviewing 9 out of the 10 games in just a bit. I still need to basically erase the board and put the notes down in terms of the other games. I still also have to watch some of the highlights in some of the games because I wasn't able to watch all the games at once, because there was one point there was like 8 games that was happening at the same time. But as always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these action from yesterday Leeds Cup. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.